have with me Mr. Kodo Eresia Eke, who is the General Manager, External Relations of the NLNJ. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Mokwe.
Well, the NLNJ is definitely kicking against this amendment. You say that it's going to portray the federal government as a promise breaker. But the federal government may argue, and the lawmakers are arguing, that the promises and the agreements had with the, in the NLNJ, enshrined in the NLNJ Act, were not to be done in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's correct, Mokwe. Because of all the shouting, that I heard this morning, I think it's useful just to calm down and get the facts out. Because what's happening is that people are just trying to pull wool over the eyes of Nigerians. So let's shine our eyes. I think it was Olarotunmi that instituted a small theater at the University of Port Harcourt and called it the Crab. Essentially, it was a way of warning Nigerians that we behave more like crabs. We like to pull down our great efforts. Some people said PhD means pull him down. This is a syndrome that we seem to have in Nigeria. The Minister of Information just described NLNJ as the best success that Nigeria has had. But that is a company we are arguing, shouting to pull down. The issues are very simple, Mokwe, and clear, because truth is simple. We struggled for 30 years to try to have Nigeria LNG. From the late 50s, it was only in 1989. So you would ask yourself a question. Why was it important for the federal government to consistently, in spite of administrations, push for NLNJ? Because we needed NLNJ primarily to put out the flares in the Niger Delta, the fires burning night and day. It required NLNJ to put those flares out, which is what NLNJ is doing. As at the time that NLNJ started production, the flares were at the level of about 65%. Today they've been reduced to about 20% or less. And mark you, if you do nothing about your flares, over time, even your oil cannot sell. So it was important to do that. Now, beyond the flares, before, I told you that 30 years, but it took 30 days, less than 30 days, after the 30 years work, once the act was put in place. That then gave investors confidence. There were guarantees and assurances, which then gave them confidence to invest, to bring in their portfolio, bring in their money to invest. Now, it also provided in that act to say, listen, guys, when the time comes, or if the time comes, when we have to change the fiscal arrangements, let us all come together, government and the shareholders, and then you let us know that this is what you want to do. Then we'll all come to an agreement, and then we change it. That is in the law. That is due process. I heard the man shouting about due process. That's what we're asking for. Follow the due process as enshrined in the law. If we don't do that, two things are happening here. One, it was government as a whole that entered into this agreement. Now, we're seeing a part of government trying to fetter the hand of the whole government that entered into an agreement with the shareholders of the IOCs with respect to Nigeria LNG. So what's going to happen with this if it goes ahead and becomes law? The reputation of Nigeria will go tatters. Yeah, we're already struggling. We are 169th, out of 190 countries, ease of doing business. We're at the bottom.
The first thing you said, I mean, you've said quite a number of things that one can pick on in your statement, but pull him down is one of the syndromes you say is or could be at play here. The question is, who is trying to pull who down?
Good question. Anyone who does not want Nigeria to respect the sanctity of law is obviously trying to pull Nigeria down. Because if you abrogate laws unilaterally, you're going to put the country in very bad light. And you're going to ruin the reputation of the country.
Unilaterally, someone might argue that that is not what is happening here. You've just talked about due process. The National Assembly is the body empowered by law to be able to amend even the country's constitution.
Yeah.
Why is it so contentious to amend the NLNG Act?
Indeed, the law is their own law, is their act. And in their own act, it is so stated how this act will be amended. In their own law, it is so stated.
Are you arguing that the National Assembly is not following the process of amending even its own act?
I'm saying that in its own act is very clear what is stated, how this act ought to be amended, how the agreements were reached, and that is just what needs to be done. But it's not been done. Rather, powers have just been appropriated, and acting unilaterally. That's what's happening. Nigerians have to shine their eyes because we want to destroy our best success.
How is this destruction? I mean, this is a situation whereby the NNNG has been a very successful company.
Yes,
I mean, the Minister for Information giving it some kudos means it's done very well. And this is a partnership, it would seem, among shareholders, Nigerian government even inclusive. So why would contributing 3% of its own budget destroy the company?
Basically, the amendments, if you see the amendments that have been proposed or that have been passed, they basically eliminated, removed, deleted those guarantees, assurances upon which the government relied to bring in investment. They needed to do that in order to insert the 3%. So the issue is not about 3%. It's not about spending money in the Niger Delta. Evidence is there of how much we are spending, unsolicited. Lately, we're asked to even do a road for 60 billion supporting the federal government. We have asked to do 3 billion annually to try to turn Bonny into a mini Dubai. So the question is not about expending money. It's about ensuring that we maintain the sanctity of law. Now, let me tell you how Nigeria LNG is being destroyed. We need $1 billion annually to ensure that even the current trains which we have today will be fed with enough gas to continue to produce. Now, these same investors are the ones that we're relying upon to bring in the dollars, the $1 billion annually, to invest for the production of the gas necessary for LNG to continue to do business and to prosper and to feed Nigeria with the billions that we bring in. That is in jeopardy now. I don't even want to talk about the 25 billion around the 7th and 8th trains, because these are the same investors that are going to bring them in. Now, I want you to note that we are getting information from those who understand the oil and gas business that is really supportive, because they know that this is a no-no in the oil and gas business. You don't unilaterally change agreements. And that's essentially the issue.
I'm a little, you've just talked about how you agree that the agreements and the assurances that were given were not given indefinitely. Perhaps at some point there would have been the possibility of amending the Act, because the NNNG has been in existence now for close to 28 years. At least the Act establishing the NNNG has been, established for that long.
There's no argument. You want to change the law, please go ahead and change the law, but follow the process that you yourself have adopted.
Because when you talk about these potential investments that could come in and might not come in now, people will say, isn't this subtle blackmail?
No, how can it be blackmail? I mean, you look at it. Imagine that you are the one, or maybe Channels, made that investment somewhere else in another country, and were given certain assurances that this investment will be secure and there'll be no amendments to the agreements reached, and that indeed, if there's need for agreement for changes, we're going to sit with you and let you know how it will be done, and then we'll agree. And then suddenly, unilaterally, would you be encouraged to bring in more money? Let's worry about our country.